Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Sarah Jane, and normally I would have Enolia with me, and we're not sure what's happened to her. So hopefully she'll join us. But our special guest for this programme is Sue Stone. Sue, thank you so much for joining us for this.
Oh, it's absolutely a pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's always lovely. I love to chat and about life in the universe and everything, and to anyone that will chat with me. So it's thank you.
It is a real pleasure. And the topic for this programme is we are all powerful beings. Believe it. And as Sue is a personal empowerment, happiness and confidence coach, I think it's an excellent topic for this programme. Sue, do you want to start with some of your thoughts about this, and then we will, and hopefully Enolia will join us.
I think it's important to talk a little bit about the history of just how powerful we are, because this is what I'm so passionate about. As you know, I've got my Sue Stone Foundation now, and we've got people, accredited coaches all around the world. So I'm so passionate about sharing what's enabled my own life transformation. And you know a bit about my story, and I think it's, you know, you've got all that information. But I think in my former life, as I put it, I felt like I was sort of potentially in a bit of a lockdown anyway, when, you know, my whole life fell apart, ended up splitting up with my husband. Hi,
Enolia. Technical difficulties, but I'm on.
Yeah, she's here. Don't worry, we're just chatting away. I was just sorry.
Carry on, Sue. Do carry on.
No, I was just explaining. Hi, Enolia. That why I'm so passionate about what our subject today is, when 20 odd years ago, my life, I was so disempowered, for want of a better word, full of fear and desperation, having split up with my husband, got left with enormous debt, 3 young children. I don't want to go on and on about it, but it was a very challenging time, and ended up, you know, up to my eyeballs in credit cards and loans, and no idea where the next penny was coming from, and getting down to that moment of £10 left in my purse, and I have the bank trying to repossess my home. And it was in that moment when I woke up the following day, and I thought, how on earth, after I had a cry, obviously, very human moments, how on earth has my life come to this? And I was consumed with fear and desperation. But it was that something in me then said, do you know what, Sue Stone, you've got to do something to turn your life around, because if you don't do it, no one's going to do it for you. And that is what set me on my journey of self-discovery, and reading positive thinking books, spiritual books, connecting truly on my spiritual path. But it all sort of evolved. But the one thing, you know, I learned was just that we are far more powerful than we realize. And I was the expert at doing it all wrong, because I was marvelously expert at doing it all wrong, girls. But I'm just going to say that, you know, I had a belief at the time that once one thing went wrong, a load of other things went wrong. So I was marvelous at manifesting that, and so focused on that, and you know, split up this, and true to form, everything went from bad to worse. And as I say, so that's when I started understanding that through our thoughts, our emotions, our beliefs, what's in our consciousness is at the core of how we see our world, what we create as our experience. And that was the turning point. And I literally made it my mission to work on myself and change my thinking. So I spent my whole time thinking and saying, I'm going to be homeless with my 3 children. I'm going to be homeless with my 3 children. And the whole thing. And it was just like, whoa, you know, Sue Stone, wake up. And but anyway, I got totally passionate at reading loads of different books, and sort of the rest is history, to be honest.
Yeah. But you used that perfect word, focus. What you focus on is what you draw to you. And that is our power, isn't it? But when we focus on the negative, as you were talking about, it makes us feel powerless.
Well, we are powerful all the time, but we don't realize that we're powerfully creating what we don't want. And I think talking about feeling like powerless victims with our conditioning and programming that we've all had, if we listen too much to certain things and experiences, we can start to cultivate the beliefs that we have no power. So it's about everybody. I think time is now, with everything going on in the world, that everybody realizes that they need to take 100% responsibility for what they're creating, the world they want to create, and not getting caught into the fear and drama of what is going on out there and slipping down into that slippery slope of, disempowerment. So, yeah. It is one little phrase, just sorry, you're saying about what you focus on, but the first little phrase all those years ago that somebody said to me was, well, Sue, don't forget your thoughts create your future. And even though it was such a simple phrase, and it was long before I had researched it at such in-depth levels to, down to the science, the quantum physics that backs up the ancient wisdom, to the neuroscience and all this sort of stuff, and the emotion behind it and the feeling. But that little phrase, my thoughts create my future, I thought, wow, that in itself is pretty powerful. Same thing, it's all these different things of saying the same thing in lots of different ways, but different things resonate with different people, don't they?
They do. Enolia.
So I'm sitting here listening to you, and people are going, well, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I mean, you have those low points, and I find that when I'm working with people, they don't understand why that positive speak is so important, and when we're talking positive, when we're speaking positive, when we're taking an outlook of positive, what we're really doing is raising our vibration. And what do you mean by raising your vibration? But placing yourself in a positive state, because when you are down, then what you're doing is you're attracting that same rapport, so how are people going to respond to me if I'm down? Am I going to get that job interview that I really need by going in and just being really down and depressed and everything else? No, you're raising your vibration. You're trying to bring in that positive speak, because a person is more attracted towards you and wants to be around you when you're uplifted. Positive things happen. Think about that moment when you're walking by somebody and that smile makes your day. So how do you think in terms when you're smiling back? So when we're at that time when we're in our low point in our life, and we need to lift up, it starts with us. It starts with us.
I totally agree. It was like, Sue Stone, get your act together, well, or whatever. But I constantly say, once we get our inner world right, our outer world reflects. But interesting you say that this whole thing, because all those years ago, when your whole life is falling apart, or your perception of your life is falling apart, and everywhere you look is disaster. If someone says, "Oh, just be positive," you want to go, "Well, go away." Your words to that effect. You say, "Don't just tell me to be positive." But that for some reason, at some level, I had this innate desire to think, okay, why is it so important to be positive? And that's what set me. I've done 20 years of self-study and research. I've not got no qualifications in this. I wasn't born with any faith at all. I was very asleep and whatever in my former life. And so I've delved deeply into understanding why it's so important, but also fundamentally all it is ancient wisdom, isn't it? And that now the science of quantum physics backs up. But you talk about vibration, Enolia, I totally agree. Everything is vibration. But what I try and explain to everyone, that We know we're all energy fundamentally,
Yes.
and we're all bundles of whirling vibration of in nature, for want of a better word. But the key thing is, I always say to people that two things in vibrational resonance with each other are drawn together. That is actually the science that backs that statement up. Because some people I speak to like to know a bit more of that. Others just accept and are far more spiritually aware. But if we know that two things in vibrational resonance are drawn together, but the indicator of the vibration you're on is the way you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say to people, look, one phrase that might help you so much is to remember, because sometimes short little punchy phrases have been really, really helpful. And I say to people, write this down. The way I feel in every moment is what I am creating. It's no point tuning in, praying, meditating, walking in nature, doing all your barefoot or whatever, and say thank you, God, thank you, universe, thank you, source, for an hour a day. And then the rest of the day, you get caught into your own way of thinking, what you're worrying about, where your focus is, as you said, Sarah. And it's like, well, your predominant energy and how you're vibrating through the day is what, of course, you're manifesting or creating. So that's why people don't get the results they desire. And so, no, I totally agree. I think right now the most important thing we can all do is keep our vibration high, which, of course, boosts our immune system, keeps us well. So yeah, I knew we'd all going to agree with everything, but
yes.
Sure.
And Sue, I wanted to ask you this question because I'm sitting here listening to your story, and I definitely understand, especially having gone through a divorce, and then there's the children, and then you're sitting there going, how am I going to do this? And the whole transition, and it just the strength that you have to muster to find within yourself to navigate through the story. And I want to talk about that because that is a pain point, and a lot of people will settle. They'll basically settle in life and say, rather than going through finding the strength within me, to find the courage to move through this story, to stop lying to myself and to say, I'm not happy either, and I've got to do this. I've got to lift myself up. I've got to figure out how to pick myself up, how to find that strength. And for me, I remember having those moments where I was going on a hike, and it was shortly after I got divorced, and I was at the top of a mountain, and I remember the tears started streaming down, and then the release came, and it's just like, why me? Why did this happen to me? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? How am I going to face the future? What the heck can I do? And then, I don't know where it came from, but finding that courage and that strength within myself that says, okay, I just can't lay down. I just got to forge through, and I just got to move through. And instead of looking way ahead, I just did it day by day, making sure that I got things accomplished day by day, and that courage came out. But a lot of women will say, well, where did you find the courage? How did you do it? How was it for you in finding that courage within to muster through getting past the story and getting past this time in your life?
It's a really good question, and even leaving my husband took courage. It does take courage. I say to people all the time, it takes courage. But then when you get chipped away, not that I want this to be an exercise of, tearing my ex-husband apart. We're great friends now, and in fact, he actually lives in my house at the moment with me. So, we are great friends. That's just a long time ago we split up. He knows he's proud of what I've achieved, and my inner world. I've been in this great space for a long time, but it's a really good question. But so number one, it took courage to leave, but it got to such a desperate state. I thought I got to get, this has got to end. But after that was when I had the belief. I thought, well, everything's going wrong now, and of course it did. So that was in 1997. And then things went from bad to worse. And it was 1999, which of course is a long time ago now, was when I had my £10 moment, and literally no money, £10. And that was when. And I always urge people, don't wait till you get as desperate as I got before you step into your power, you wake up, for want of a better word, and realise that you can change and find. There's so many different modalities and things that we can do, including our self-talk and, you know, all the rest of it. But I feel with me, what kept me going, there were days where I felt dreadful, well, consistently. But I knew if it wasn't for my 3 children, I don't know what I'd done, but something drove me. They were still quite young. And my daughter Natalie is my PA now. I mean, they're all in their 30s, my kids now, but we're talking about they were a lot younger, obviously. But that was my driving force, is I've got to feed my children. But I think it does take courage in everything I've achieved. You know, coming out your comfort zone. Sometimes people normalize what I see as such a negative situation. It becomes their normal. It's their comfort zone, even if it's not that comfortable. So, but that's why with everything that I do, and you know, I've only got 2 books published, but I try and explain in very simple terms what I learned, how I did it, what I applied into my life, because that's the key, to change my thinking, to give my life new positive direction. And it's funny, when you start to realize and sort of think, right, I'm now going to focus on being solution conscious, not problem conscious, but that takes deliberate effort, doesn't it? You have to have that moment by moment awareness. But when I started to realize that simple phrase, my thoughts create my future, I thought, and I started to become the observer of myself and live consciously, I was suddenly realizing, oh my God, you know, probably the trigger was in my stomach. My stomach would go, there'd be a trigger, a bill to turn up, or another phone call, or someone chasing me, you know, bank credit cards chasing me for money, or just this whole thing. And I suddenly thought, oh, I feel terrible. And then I'd go, hang on a minute, Sue Stone, what are you thinking? This hang on, Sue Stone talk went on a lot. And I thought, oh my God, all I'm doing is thinking about and visualizing myself homeless with my children. So I then thought, hang on a minute, my thoughts create my future. No, that's not what I want. So I literally started at the beginning. I would literally almost grab that thought or vision out of my mind. Literally, I promise you, it's as simple as that. I've gone on any course, I just read books, and I was like, oh my God, my thoughts create my future. Oh no. And then I would deliberately, you know, what we sow, we reap. You know, what we sow in our conscious thoughts, we reap in our subconscious. You know, you girls know all that. And I literally started visualizing myself happy, laughing in a sanctuary of a home. That was all I could think of. I didn't know how I was going to be happy ever again. I'd even forgotten what it felt like to be happy. So, but I started creating the picture in my mind, in my imagination, of course, as Albert Einstein says, your imagination is your preview of life's coming attractions. And as I say to people, you are the director of the movie of your life in your mind. So for goodness sake, direct a movie that you like the ending of. So it was just like you said, totally a moment by moment. I'm learning to live in the now. Sorry, girls, I'm talking too much now, but learning to live in the now is one of the biggest breakthroughs.
It is.
I can remember thinking, this is the only moment I've got. So why am I fearing what might or might not happen? So to keep myself in the now, thinking, Sue Stone, this is the only moment you've got. Why choose thoughts that make you miserable? Because if you choose thoughts that make you miserable or fearful, the way you feel in every moment is what you're creating. Whoopsie. So get out of that. Focus on what you've got to be grateful for, the air you breathe. You've got 3 children that love you. Back to basics. And so that's what I did, just back to simple basics of gratitude and love. And of course, that's a great vibration to live in, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I think it's for me, I got to the stage where I was so uncomfortable in my life. And it was just like, with my ex, it was just like, we were parallel lives. His parallel was in rose petals, lined with rose petals. Mine was lined with rose thorns. And I got to the stage I had to get out. And it was almost as if there was the understanding of, why have I spent so many years being a people pleaser when people aren't thinking about me anyway? And it is really important to realize that most of the time other people are not thinking about us. They're worrying about what's going on in their own life.
Mm.
But it's also, and so that can be really empowering. Actually, I can do what's right for me, because most people aren't thinking about that anyway, and what I'm doing. But also, when we have the confidence and the courage to step outside our comfort zone, the universe will work with us. It will so help and support us. When I had that courage to say, my marriage is over, everything fell apart. It fell apart. It really did. Suddenly I was getting made redundant. The company was going to be folding, but actually
sounds a bit like me. Once you made that decision, everything else went wrong.
but I didn't see it as everything going wrong. Although I was not on this path at that stage, I actually didn't see it as it going wrong. I was able to stay in the house for a couple of months in a separate bedroom. So I was really lucky I wasn't just kicked out of the house. I didn't have kids, so that wasn't so much a problem. The company didn't close immediately. It was quite a few months before it did. And I eventually moved out into rented accommodation for 6 months. But then the company that took us over was offering people the chance to move and work for them down to Bournemouth, which of course is where I now am. So suddenly, and I didn't stay with the company, I took redundancy, them virtually having moved me down anyway. I really made the whole thing work for me. So that courage to take that step to get out of a relationship that I was obviously not meant to be in, suddenly it appeared everything else was crashing down. But absolutely, it brought everything back together in the order it should be in.
Sounds like chaos theory at its best. Everything appears to be going chaotic, but actually at the quantum level, the energetic level, it's all falling into place, isn't it? So no, that's powerful. But I think for people, I often feel people don't find the courage because they're fearful of the unknown, aren't they? They're fearful of change, and the fear of the unknown is one of the biggest things, and people just don't know how to get out and what's going to happen to them. So that fear stops them changing or shifting or whatever. So it is a tricky one, and it does take courage, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And I just want to go back to a couple of comments that you had made. One of them was about the fact that divorce is hard, okay? But this ideology that a lot of us come up with is that in order to get divorced, there has to be belittling. There has to be belittling or demeaning. And it's not that it doesn't happen, okay? But I'm saying that, I'm going to get divorced now, so I have to place blame, or I have to belittle, or I have to I have to point and make my way and show that it's right. And I just want to say to those who are listening, because there are people at their times of their lives and they're contemplating this or looking at this, it doesn't have to be that way. Even if your partner is that way, it doesn't have to be that way on your part. you know. We can choose to take responsibility on our part without having to demean, without having to belittle, without having to place blame. Okay, and then basically just say, you know what, we both deserve happiness, and if we're not making each other happy, then it's okay for us to part, you know, giving ourselves permission to part, and then saying, you deserve to be loved, and so do I. And if we're not doing this for each other, then instead of belittling each other, instead of placing blame on each other, instead of, you know, it's your fault for this and my fault for that and blah, 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 and divvying it up, just agree that it's time to move on.
Yeah, I surrender. It's not working. You know, everybody deserves to be happy. Life isn't supposed to be a struggle. And people think, oh, it's what it is. And are we really, realistically, meant to stay in the be with that same one person? I know it's wonderful if it is, but to be close and magical with one person forever and ever and ever, you know, there are going to be times where people come apart and come together and
yes.
You know, people grow and change at different rates. So I think that, but, you know, I think rather than focus on splitting up with relationships, let's focus on, sorry, it's your conversation, not mine, but I'd rather focus on people empowering themselves to realize in these moments in times, because, you know, more and more people are leaving and accepting, and, you know, or some people are too fearful for change and they won't, or picking their moment. But, you know, things happen. But like I said, my main concern is people normalize what I see as a really mediocre situation, and they forget, like I did, how to feel happy and what it felt like to be happy. But I think more and more people are being aware of there's something I'm finding with my work, you know, it's going exponentially in terms of people being drawn to me. And when you've got a bit of a story, and, you know, you can't fake, well, I suppose you can try and fake being happy, but you well, people do, I guess, but you know what, but you can't keep it up, can you? And, you know, it's if you want to look around yourself and realize you're surrounded by love, beautiful things, that's what more can you ask for? Actually, at the end of the day, what more can you ask for? And I think that's what we've got to focus on, that we all understand that, and that but it's, as I try and remind everybody, every thought we think, every feeling we have, and every word we speak affects us at the quantum energetic level. And where I see is that people say, well, one friend of mine years ago used to say to me, well, Sue, I am a positive thinker, she said, but there's always another problem around the corner. And of course, guess what she got? Always another problem around the corner. So I said, it's all very well thinking positively and visualizing it, but if the words coming out of your mouth is, you know, oh, I'm desperate, I'm bored, I'm depressed, I'm frustrated, the power of the I am is huge, isn't it? We are literally commanding God, commanding the universe, commanding source, commanding the intelligence, infinite intelligence, whatever we want to call it. Give me more of that. So, you know, it's like we can create a life we love. That's what my main passion is, thinking, God, if I can do this as a single mum, I've been consistently like this. I'm a pain, actually. Look, I wore my T-shirt just for you girls. Can you see that?
The more you love life loves you back.
That's one of my total affirmations, is the more you love life, life loves you back. You know, life will throw us challenges. And of course, goodness me, the whole world's been facing challenges in this last year. But, you know, they will throw us challenges, but it's how we let those challenges affect us, isn't it? Is our choice. Are we going to get caught in the drama and go down the fear route? Or are we going to go, okay, this moment is all I've got, so I'm going to adapt and do things. So, yeah, through every thought and emotion, of course, the emotion, the feeling is the energy in motion. I mean, I could go on and on about all this, but as I say, you girls have got lots to offer too. So,
and I think really it's a matter of sort of thinking that, okay, what is going on in other people's lives? How are other people talking? And do I need to take that energy on? Is that anything actually to do with me? So when we let other people's reactions to anything that we say or something that's going on in their life affect us, that's what takes our power away. And we have the power to think, I've just heard what you've said, and I'm not talking about the conversations we're having now, because I think we're all very much on the same wavelength. But actually what you're saying, I don't believe has anything to do with me. Therefore, I'm actually going to let that go. I'm not going to disempower myself by believing what you're saying possibly about me.
don't forget, people, as I see it, it's, you know, if people look, if you're a happy person at peace, you have no desire to put somebody else down.
Exactly.
Do you? So, as we all know, it's, you know, if someone wants to absolutely criticize, condemn, make a judgment, it is a reflection of them, isn't it? What's going on in their thoughts, their consciousness. Yeah. And as we know, no one, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So, as you quite rightly say, you can either take it on board as your truth, or you think, no, I'm not going to accept that as my truth. So yeah, I agree.
There's a lovely quote: just because somebody threw you in Lake Inferior doesn't mean you have to keep swimming in it. You're better than that. Enolia.
Yeah, so you know, I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I so agree in the respect that when we truly come into our heart space and we learn that the ego is what defines our boundaries, and the ego is what really defines the fear, because we have like this bubble of where we like to operate. And as long as we operate within those boundaries, you know, everything's good. And as soon as the heart's desire comes forward, right? The heart's desire always wants to desire past the boundaries. And then that's where we get fearful, because we're comfortable. And if we just can sit into our hearts and really allow that desire to go and trust ourselves and our own confidences and our own power, and trust the universe, and just keep that clear, positive line of sight, and just move through the story of what we perceive as fear, everything falls into place. And that's the key. It really falls into place. And so go beyond the bubble. You don't have to take a leap and jump off the edge. You can go in baby steps. But the key is that you will never move past the hamster wheel until you move past your routine, until you move past where that comfort level is, and you move forward. And if you do that, believing in self, trusting in self, and knowing that even if I fall, I can pick myself up, it's really nothing stopping you ever from achieving what you choose to achieve. And that's a beautiful thing. It really, really is. And that is something we all possess. We all possess. So it really, really comes to, are you willing to step forward? Are you willing to take a leap, take a chance, and move past that story that's been created by the ego that says, oh, gosh, I can't go past here because. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
I think that's it. It's like, come on, like the positive self-talk a bit. I can do this. I can do this. Come on, Sue Stone, you can do this. So, you know, I've done this so much. It's bringing back all the memories. I don't need to do it now. But, you know, one of the things, I love that. I totally agree with you, is I say to everyone, no one's more powerful than anybody else at all. We don't need to be fixed. We don't need to be rescued. But what we do need is to understand our own power and how to access it. And we're all powerful beings, but some of us are, or just as powerful as each other, but some of us have learned to tap into it and use it to its full potential for the good. Obviously, it can work the other way. And I was trying to remind everybody that we all have, every single one of us has the seed of greatness within us. Just like the oak tree is already in the acorn. The acorn doesn't need to become worthy of being an oak tree. It doesn't even have to manifest itself as an oak tree. It doesn't even have to work hard to become an oak tree. With the right nurturing, the right nourishing, positive self-talk, prayer, the watering, you know, the positive affirmations, the things, we will all naturally emerge into our greatness, just as that acorn naturally emerges into the oak tree. But where, of course, what happens is, you know, we're all born with this seed of greatness, but yes, maybe we've got learnings and discoverings of soul choices and things, but at the end of the day, it's what's in our consciousness. If we, you know, in our programming, if this is why as parents we have such, well, are we all parents or no, yeah. But or two parents, or even with your peers, we have such responsibility for the language we use, because if you say you're no good, the number of people that I come and see me and their parents told them you'll never achieve if you go on to that, and that one little thing, that's what they had, you'll never achieve. So they will then grow up with that belief that they will never achieve, that they're not worthy, when they have, and this is what I'm trying to say to everybody, spend my time doing is, you'll only ever achieve in life as far as your thoughts and beliefs take you. So we need to, this is how people do the capping with the glass ceiling, isn't it? It's if we can remove and identify back to being the observer of yourself, watching what's coming out your mouth, what you're thinking, and taking responsibility for those, thinking, actually, I don't need to accept that as my truth anymore, because I can do this. I am worthy of a great life. I am worthy of abundance. I am worthy of love. And I can. And it is a transition. It certainly was for me. Don't forget, I went from that total fear state of forgetting what it felt like to be happy to suddenly having days of, you know, it took a bit of time, for sure it did, but I made it my mission to work on myself. And as I say to everyone, there's no point knowing what to do. You've got to do what you know. And there's no point going on all the courses, reading all the books, and forgetting to apply what you've learned in your life, because nothing is going to change. And I'm sure you girls both agree with me. And as I say, banging on again, but I urge people, do not wait till things, you know, get so desperate before you. The greatest investment anyone can make is to work on themselves. Yes. And heal and let go of the past. That takes a bit of practice, but you know, and to live in the now and love unconditionally.
And love yourself. That's the unconditional love we need first. And I don't like using the words want and need, I really don't, but
no, I agree.
Loving ourselves. If we can't love ourselves, how can we expect anybody else to love us? And I do remember that feeling of, you know, so when I heard somebody say, I know who I am and I like who I am, and I'm thinking, how the heck do you know that? Because I had no idea, because of the insecurities within me, because of what had happened to me in my very early years. I felt unwanted, unloved, not good enough, unworthy. Every single negative word you can come up with, that's how I felt. But the wake-up call, and it was about, nobody's worrying about me anyway, nobody's thinking about me, so why am I worrying about it? And taking that power back As with everything that takes time, it didn't happen in 5 seconds flat. But as Helen says, it was an opportunity to restart. If you can restart yourself and stay in your relationship, great. It just happens that the three of us didn't. But it is about the love of self. How many people at the end of the day say to themselves, you've done really well today. I'm so proud of you. I don't just do it at the evening, I do it at lunchtime. Whatever I've achieved in the morning, it may not be what I'd hoped to achieve, because things always crop up and stop you from doing some of the things you want to do. It doesn't matter. Praise yourself, love yourself. I have an affirmation which includes, I am the love of my life. Because when I can truly love me, I know I can bring more of that to the lives that I touch. I know that everybody is special. No one is more or less special than anybody else. But we are special in our own unique way. And that is the important. I've worked with children and adults with learning difficulties. They aren't less special. It isn't an us and them with anybody in the world. It is, I am part of the whole, and I know I am, and that makes me special, and that makes you special. And it's that feeling good about ourselves. And even if all we've achieved is getting out of bed, which, having come very close to being diagnosed with ME, I know that feeling. That just about managed to get out of bed and then having to plonk myself on the settee because I hadn't got any energy left. I absolutely know that feeling. But if you've done it, and if that is all you can say, well done to yourself for, then do it. Congratulate yourself. Praise yourself. And you will draw more of that to you. That is your power.
Yeah, I agree. But it seems very hard. I remember years ago when I was in my desperate state, reading books on self-love, I thought, oh, it's all about the ego. Obviously, we know that's not the case. No, but you got to love yourself. I think, oh God, what does that mean? You know, honestly, I went to see. I don't know, Sarah, if you know Diane Egby Edwards.
I've certainly heard of her. Yes, I've heard of her. I don't know.
Yeah. Was she lovely lady? She's local to us, and she was the first lady all those years ago I went to see when I was distraught and desperate. And a year after I split up with my husband, I'd met another man, and it was all on and it was off. It was the best, it was the worst. So all of that added to the no money and financial, it was just disaster. But anyway, I remember going to see her and getting all worked up and whatever. And she said to me, she said, Sue, you've got to let go of the past, live in the now, and love unconditionally. And I remember thinking at the time, how the hell do you do any of that, and let alone learn to love yourself? I just had no idea. But of course, as time's gone by, you know, we realise the importance of this. But self-care is huge, isn't it? Huge. It's a bit like the analogy I love with self-care, of course, is because we've all probably been guilty of being the daughter, me with the mother, the wife, women can lose themselves, can't they? I know so many women that have got children. We're something to everybody else, the sister, the business partner, whatever. But if we don't look after ourselves and love ourselves, but that self-care is huge. But of course, the great analogy is when we're on the aircraft and they say, if the oxygen mask comes down, if you've got your child with you, younger children or elderly people, or you've got to put it on yourself first before you help other people. I never used to get that, but of course it's so obvious. You're no good to anybody else if you're a bedraggled mess, and you have no respect for yourself, and you don't lose it. But what I found is these sort of things can happen quite gradually. You can sort of feel, and then as time goes by, there's this gentle, very gradual approach of, not approach, that's not the right word, process of, falling into a trap of a way of living. But likewise, the transition can go the other way, can't it? With the right nurturing and the right nourishing, we can shift into this state of self-empowerment, which is the most important thing. Everybody deserves to be happy, everybody, and we've just got to understand that.
Yeah, Enolia.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would also offer is to stand in your truth.
Yeah.
It is imperative that we stand in our truth. And the piece, this is really, really important, because what will happen is that we face judgment every day. We face projections every day. And, with those projections and with those judgments, it makes you second guess yourself sometimes, or think twice sometimes. And then other times, if you're a type of person that's looking for validation, and you're looking for validation through the judgment, and you're looking for validation through the projections, and you look up and you're living somebody else's criteria of what you're perceived to be. And that does not serve you. It does not serve you if you're fulfilling somebody else's criteria. And by the way, you will never be good enough, because it's not your truth. It's somebody else's truth. And then you're trying to rise to the occasion what someone else perceives, and you just don't get there, because it's not you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Be true to who you really are.
Really are, and stand in your truth and say what you have to say. And it doesn't matter. Sometimes that's an upstream battle. Sometimes everyone wants you to do X, but you are determined to do Y. And then to be that rock when the stream is all going downhill and you want to go up, it's okay, because you have to believe in yourself. And that's the test. Truly trusting yourself and believing in yourself. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to be. This is how I choose to move. And this is my truth. And you don't have to like it, and you don't have to be validated. I don't need to be validated by you. I trust myself. And it goes back to what you both said: loving self, trusting self, nurturing self, and standing in your truth.
And do you know what? Just coming on, what's come to mind is one of the most empowering things I did some years ago, but this does take a little bit of practice sometimes, is to let go. One of the most empowering things I've done is to let go, and liberating things is to let go of worrying about what other people think of me.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I can, that's huge.
Yes.
Letting that go, being
Yes.
true to who you really are. I know I come from the heart. I always promise to give people my best. Whatever, that doesn't mean my best in terms of exhausting myself. I then give myself, if I literally, if I think, no, my daughter, like I said, Nats is my PA. If I've got, when in the days I could maybe be going, I love doing talks and running events in person. This is great fun, because you can be with all people around the world, but there's something lovely about doing things. But she also knows that after a 2-day event, when I'm giving and performing, but always keeping my energy, because I don't get exhausted, but I know that the following day I'll just do whatever I want. So I have that nurturing self-care time, but okay, I have that choice now. I haven't got young children, I've got a little granddaughter, but obviously that's responsibility. So it is remembering to you do the best, but then but keeping your energy, not exhausting yourself, isn't it? It's that balance, but just being true to who you are, and actually saying, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm incredibly childish sometimes. I love to have fun. I laugh a lot, even in my events. People always say to me, oh my God, I didn't think I'd laugh so much. You've got to have fun in life, haven't you? And I come out with the most outrageous things sometimes, because the devil gets into me, and I I like to do it shocking, not horrible, but just, you know, something I can't think of anything now, but you know, I know my intention is good, you know, and so yeah, letting go and worrying, because we don't all have the same beliefs. Goodness me, what's going on in the world right now is an interesting time where some people see it as that and there's others that see it like that. It's so far apart, and I just think, well, you live in your truth, I'm going to live in my truth, my bubble of experience, what I believe, and that's the world I'm creating, one of love and abundance and equality and all the rest of it. I'm not going to focus on creating a world of fear, control, you know, totalitarianism and all that sort of thing. So whatever's going on out there, I don't listen to the news. I'm very focused on creating my bubble of experience, and I believe we're getting to that tipping point where there's more and more people who feel exactly the same. So
Yes.
just thought I'd get that one in.
Yeah, no, and it is, and I think, yeah, it's great because we're all talking from sort of 20 maybe plus years experience. So it's taken us time to get where we are so we can talk the way we talk, the experiences we've had. And so, no, it didn't happen in 5 seconds, 5 minutes, even 5 years. It's all a process. And if you start with something like that, I think it was Enolia said, one step at a time.
Yes.
If listening to this program and you're thinking, oh, don't know whether I can do that, take one thing that really resonates with you, that you feel can work for you. Take that and start with that. If there's a book that you read or something that you see, one of these beautiful quotes, that are so many quotes out there on social media, there's a beautiful quote that touches you. Take that step at a time. You can't pour from an empty cup over an empty pot is another great one about taking care of yourself. Take care of you. Learn that it's important to love yourself, to be true to who you are. Learn to say no. The other thing I would say is learn to accept no.
Mm.
Because no can be the greatest gift you can receive. But take these things a step at a time, especially if you are at the beginning of the journey.
I think sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say.
It takes myself back, I just develop new habits, and I think I say to people, this has to be a way of living for you to really get results. It's not difficult. As I say, I didn't come out with any complicated things. I've never done an NLP course. I've never done anything. But what I have done is 20 years of research and passion. But say it doesn't take 5 years. I moved into quite a different place much quicker than 5 years, I've got to say. So not that people think, oh, it's going to take 5 years before I feel any better. No, when we start to really, but one of the very simple things, if anyone is listening and they're not happy with the way their life is going, I always say to people, when you wake up in the morning, this is such a powerful thing. When you're in that sleepy state as you're coming to, that's when we're in alpha brainwave state. And and that's when the door is open to the subconscious mind. So a wonderful habit I got into the, wonderful thing I got into the habit of doing, whatever, or habit of that I had, was to deliberately, and I'd have post-it notes in the beginning by my bedside to remind myself, as I'm coming to, you're in that sleepy state, rather than just think, what I used to do is, oh my God, what's today going to bring? Like, oh, what dramas and problems, which people don't, oh, what's today going to bring? I deliberately planted thoughts and feelings of love and gratitude. And I say that, deliberately do that. We've all got one thing we can be, even down to having nice, warm, I mean, I went on Secret Millionaire 10 years ago, and I had had a fear I was going to be homeless, but I was meeting people that really were living on the streets. Okay. In fact, Kate that I met 10 years ago, she's part of my foundation. She's amazing and she's wonderful. And anyway, we digress a little bit, but even simple things like when after the filming of that, and it was a freezing cold day in November back in the down in Bournemouth. This was up in Coventry. And I remember thinking of those poor people, because you can't just get people off the streets when they've got dependency on other things. It's their coping mechanism. And but I used to just be grateful with my hot cup of tea in bed, in my nice light white linen sheets, simple things like that. I was like so grateful, and I think of them. This is just coming to my mind. And that feeling of gratitude that my fear was all in my head that I was going to be homeless, but it was very real at the time, don't get me wrong. And then think about the love that you have for children or anyone in your life. But if you can spend 5 minutes in that, then what a fantastic vibration to start the day on. And that in itself sort of sets the intention rather than overanalyze what the hell's going to go wrong today, which of course is what I used to do. And so that's the start. And then every time, just through the day, a moment by moment awareness, observe yourself. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I saying? Like I said earlier. And then, even though nothing changed out there, instead of feeding the fear, I would immediately, as I became aware of a negative thought, I would convert that inner critic to be the inner coach. The minute you become aware that you're having a fearful negative thought, or could be about anything, I would sort of go, hang on a minute, Sue Stone. I would think, right, I have a choice in this moment. Do I feed that thought? Like I said, if a bill had come in that I wasn't expecting, I could have fed the thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'll never be able to pay it. And then before I would know it, I had created in my mind this incredible drama and consumed myself with fear that I was going to be homeless. But then I used to think, hang on a minute, Sue Stone. Here we go again. Hang on a minute, Sue Stone. I used to think, right, it's okay that I'm having this thought. I didn't suppress it, because we know it's no point suppressing it, because that creates the dis-ease in our body, which of course manifests as disease and illness, whatever. I acknowledged it. Sorry, this is what I used to do. This is my little thought on here. And I'm just, for anyone listening, this is, this very slow, like you say, just moment by moment, lots of tiny steps. And I go, it's okay, Sue, that you're having this thought right now. Because right now, you actually don't know how you're going to pay that bill. But I'm not going to give any power to you, thought, and I'm going to let you go. And then I'd bring in the inner coach, and I would say, right, and I would deliberately sort of then look up here, and I think, because I am now open to all the ways money can show up in my life. I'm now open to be shown the solution. Thank you, God, for showing me the way. Thank you, universe. Thank you, angels. Whatever your higher power is. Thank you, source. But we need to open our mind up to receiving the solution, to open our heart up to receiving. And I think that's the key. And my goodness me, back to, like we said, right from the start, we get more of what we focus on. So I then suddenly realized I was solution conscious, and things suddenly, as the law of attraction, the universe, the ancient wisdom, God, whatever we want to do, let go, let God. But for goodness sake, give your life direction, be solution conscious, and then almost like with magic, but of course, sometimes it feels like it, doesn't it? The solution will present itself. And another lovely, sorry girls, I will shut up in a sec, but I'm just thinking, if, like you bringing up, if anybody is in a stage, this is, I feel the fundamentals of just embracing few little techniques makes such a difference. But I adopted the belief, and I started affirmation. I used to say, I believe in miracles. Miracles happen to me, number one, because you don't know. But an even better one I feel is I create seemingly impossible miracles in my life. I shared that on Facebook recently. That was one of my favorite affirmations all those years ago, because when we say seemingly impossible, it bypasses any limiting beliefs in the conscious and the subconscious, doesn't it? Because we seems to be impossible, but I create them. And, you know, just affirming to yourself and thank you, and giving thanks in advance and saying, thank you for showing me the way. Thank you for showing me the solution. I trust, and then relaxing, and then back to the basics of being grateful for the abundance of the air I could breathe. And so literally that was what I did. And then after a while, your trust and faith and belief is cemented, isn't it? It takes a bit of time, the foundations, and it's a bit like compound interest. It was for me, you know, it started to build on top of each other. So anyway, there we go, girls. That's what I was going to say. And last thing at night in alpha brainwave state is you're going to sleep. Go to sleep on the key words you want to feel: peace, calm, whatever, abundance, rather than beat yourself up and for your day. Because once again, alpha brainwave state, the door is open to the subconscious mind. So, I mean, in very simple terms, that is what I did all those years ago. And then it was like, wow, really quite a shift.
Right, we're going to need to draw this to a close because I think we're going to carry on talking forever. So, Enolia, have you got any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
I would say that I love what you said in terms of when you're going to sleep and during the day. What I used to do.
Oh, she's frozen on us. Oh, bless.
At a most critical moment in time.
Enolia,
she might come back. I think she froze a little bit earlier at one point, but then she jumped back in.
Yeah. But oh, bless. So Sue, hopefully Enolia will come back. So if you got any final, and thank you for sharing that, you know, and I hope that sort of people will it will speak to them, but it is obviously what resonates with everybody, isn't it? Because yes, I do the gratitude at night. I absolutely. Oh no, we've lost her altogether.
She might pop back in, but
no, at night I sort of the thank yous, but in the morning I also do the thank yous. I'm absolutely, that's before I even get out of bed in the morning. It's just like, oh, and asking for support with my day as well, you know, sort of, because I know everything is going to be okay. And it is, but it's getting ourselves into that routine, and and creating it as a routine for as long as we require it.
And also, I think knowing that we're not hardwired, we can create new neural pathways. So, you know, and this is what I explained. And I just wanted to say, actually, look, I've got a copy. This is my latest book, The Power Within You Now. I don't know if it's the right way around for you.
It is.
But and my first book, Love Life, Live Life, I like to explain things very simply, what I've learned, what I've applied, and, you know, even down to quantum physics, you know, consciousness, fifth dimensional living, neuroscience made simple, meditation, but lots of very simple wealth, manifesting abundance I've got in that as well. But that's down to what we value, you know, where our beliefs are. But for me, I'm hugely passionate to share, but in simple terms. I think if we, hey, and she's back. So
oh, we've not got your sound though, Enolia. Can you switch your mic on? No, we haven't got your sound. No mic.
No can hear. No.
I think she can hear us.
I know. I'm being childish again.
Yeah, that's all right.
Just change. Oh,
we can't hear you, sweet.
Can you do sign language?
Oh,
am I
yes,
muted?
Yeah. Oh, I've got the suns.
No,
yes,
I've
been watching that. So Enolia, sorry, you literally got cut off as you were about to start talking.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
Oh no.
oh,
There it
Well,
is. There it is. Now I can hear you.
oh, good. Because we can hear you now. So what were you about to share with us?
Okay, so I wanted to close with today's conversation, and we're going to have Michelle Reinhardt on with us on June 11th. Okay, and she's going to be talking about 4 steps to freedom through the quantum shift alignment. So we're excited to have her on for today's conversation. I just want to say, Sue, what a pleasure it was to have you on. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing everything. It was just such a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
And we get together again. Thank you, Sarah Jane, as always. Love you, love you, love you. And thank you, everyone, for showing up for today's conversation.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, Sue. And I'll be in touch with you both
Yeah.
soon.
Good night, all. Bye.
Love, peace, and light. Namaste, folks.